In terms of the player personnel development and then the evaluation, by this point you should have a pretty good idea what you have. What are your thoughts on what you're seeing every day in practice?
Well, I like what I see. I think the glaring issue is the depth issue that we have. I think we could put a first group out there that compete with about anybody. I think the big thing here is that we've inherited a few issues on our team relative to depth. We're very fortunate that we're living in an era here where we have an opportunity to add players to our team in the springtime, all the way up until when summer school starts. So, we're going to try to take advantage of that. This is a different era in college football, unlike any other time that I'm aware of. You're certainly been around longer than I have, but it's a unique opportunity with the transfer portal, the player availability, the ability for them to be immediately eligible. I think it's a little bit of an advantage for a new staff, one that maybe you didn't have a couple of years ago.
On that subject, Coach, I realize you're coaching football. You're not reading all the things that we are reading at a place like this, but coaches are opining on the NIL, on the transfer portal. Your former boss talked about it the other day, saying it was, I think both of your former bosses talked about it this week, talking about how it wasn't sustainable. In terms of somebody who's much younger than either one of them and a little bit at more of the beginning of their head coaching career, even though you've been successful, how can you make it advantageous for your program overall?
Well, are you speaking about name, image, and likeness? Is that what
Yeah, well, I think there are two things here. There's name, image, and likeness, and then there's the portal, which you alluded to.
Yeah, no, I think the combination of the two is probably what the issues are, right? We've made the bed and now we got to sleep in it, right? It is what it is. I do agree that, we're going to end up having to change. There's no question. This thing's going to get abused. With abuse comes control, right? So, but certainly right now, our job is to lead our program and compete within the rules that we have, so it's unfortunate, but, I think for me, Paul, coaching football is about a lot more than just these things. This is a small percentage of what we do, right? And I think for me, what I've tried to do is keep perspective. What's our purpose as a coach? We want to try to have a place here at the University of Florida where we're creating life-changing impact, right? I'm in this profession because I want to help young people. We want to go about it a certain way. I do think that it's a critical time in a young man's life, right? It's a really unique window of time. We've got a great platform as a coach. My dad was a high school football coach, and I don't ever want to get too far from that, right? I would like to think that we had 4 years at Louisiana where we did that, right? We had success on the field, but we also made a difference in terms of how we did that and the things that we taught. There's a lot of life lessons that come with this game. And I think we've got an opportunity to use this game to help. And I want to have a place where our players are able to use football. Football's not using them. I think you would agree with me that it's a different time. 15, 20 years ago, these Power 5 conferences, they're writing a check for a couple million a year to each institution in the league. Now we're getting ready to sign a new TV contract. We're talking $50, $60 million a year for each institution. So I do believe that we're headed towards a time where the player deserves a piece of the pie, okay? They show up to watch the players. They don't show up to watch me, right? But I don't want that affect my purpose and why I'm coaching the game. I'm obviously in a little bit different place here with a lot more people watching. But to me, I've got to keep, and we want to keep people at the core of what we do and want to have a place that impacts people.
Coach Napier, I'm intrigued by your lineage, and of course, when you've grown up around high school football. I mean, it's very pure. Some places around the country may take it a little more seriously with their own 40 and 50,000 seat stadiums, but most places, as you know, are pretty basic and hardcore, and the fans love it because it's authentic. So when you translate that to where you are now at one of the beacons of college football, does the coaching change at all when players, like it or not, are getting money? And and occasionally a few are getting a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's our job Paul, these conversations that you're bringing up, they're the ones that are happening all across the country right now. I mean, how do you keep your team dynamic? How do you create togetherness, chemistry, morale, loyalty, all these things that the game, the passion for the game, there's a certain brotherhood that comes with this game. How do you keep those things? But know that within your locker room, there may not quite be as fair as it should be, and I think that's what I'm struggling a little bit with right now. So, I mean, we're very much in an adjustment period here. And I think for me, the key is, we've got to control what we can control within our organization and do the absolute best we can do for our players, right? We need to equip our players. We need to educate our players. At a place like University of Florida with the alumni network that we have, the passionate fan base that we have, name, image, and likeness is going to be a strength for us. But I agree with you in that, how do we do this and not let it affect the team dynamic?
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.